Okay, tidal analysis part 2, combining moon phases with tides. This is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. What we want to do, and if these diagrams look familiar, that's good. The, the cheat sheet has exactly these, and he did them in the last lab. And if you're saying, man, I'm doing this again, this is getting a little repetitive, I did that on purpose because this stuff's a little bit tricky. Getting it down, looking at the diagrams a couple different times will be what gets us there. What we want to do is look at how the tides work during different moon phases using this page right here, which I'll make the next page in the lab. I don't know why it got messy here, but don't worry about it. So look at these lines right here. This, in fact, includes the data that you already plotted. This is going to be each high, low, high, low, high, low, over and over and over again. So we've got data going from the 16th of August all the way to the 14th of October. So you guys plotted a couple of days within this already. Up here, I did a moon calendar of what was going on during those days. And since we don't start until the 16th of August, you really don't need like from the 15th on back. And since we end on about the 14th of October, you don't really need the 15th on over. We'll just deal with these days. So there we go. From the 16th of August to the 14th of October, what do we see happening with the tides? All right. High, low, high, low, high, low, over and over and over again. But that might not be, hopefully it's not, all you notice. What do you notice about what happens to the highs and the lows as we go throughout the course of the month? Are they consistent the whole entire time? Or do you see some difference here? If you see a difference, what we're going to talk about here is range. So, what is range? It's a really important neuroscience idea. It's going to come up again and again. There's times where how high a value is doesn't really matter so much. How low a value is doesn't really matter so much. What matters is the difference from high to low. And that's what range really is. Let's write that in there. Difference from high to oh, low. Difference from high to low. Could be, we're going to do it pretty hard when it gets to temperature ranges. Lab 25, we got to hit this exact idea again. That's going to be, it doesn't matter how hot it is, it doesn't matter how cold it is as an absolute number. What matters is that part of the country a place that has way up to way down, or is that a place that doesn't go up so much, doesn't go down so much? A smaller range versus a larger range. And the small range might be constantly warm, the small range might be constantly cold. That doesn't really matter. Range is all about that difference from high to low. And again, we'll hit that a lot during our science. Range is the thing, not necessarily like the value. So when looking at the graph, how can you tell a high tidal range from a low tidal range? Well, look at this graph now. Look at this blue line. Can you see where maybe it's a higher range, which means that it's going from way up to way down, versus a lower range where it's not going up as much, not going down as much? Now, you watched the spring tide versus neap tide time lapse video if you were in class, or it's on the survival guide as well if you weren't in class. Think about that. Think about what it means to have a large range, what it means to have a small range. And really, we're just doing these diagrams just slightly differently. We want to see during which moon phases do we get the higher range, during which moon phases do we get the lower range. All right, so what's the job? First, answer that. How do you tell the difference? It's fairly similar to that answer, but look at in context of the line, what does that look like? Thing number 2, the next job. You're going to draw the new moons, the first quarter moons, the full moons, and the third quarter moons right on the graph. So I'm going to go down to it. Let's look. I'd say right about the 19th, we have it's actually a third quarter moon. So what you're going to do, grab your pen, probably want to do it fairly small. And on the 19th, we're just going to draw exactly that. There's the 18th, there's the 20th. So on the 19th, it's going to be, and you all know I'm not an artist. Kind of like this. That's it, right? So that part's not too bad. Go through and do all of those phases. News, the quarters, and the full moon. When you do all of them, you'll have a whole bunch of circles right across the top of this thing. And then the job is just note, where is the range getting bigger? Where is the range getting smaller? Here at a quarter moon is when the range gets smaller. See how it's like, and again, the high, where the high is doesn't matter, where the low is doesn't matter, but you see how the difference from high to low is getting smaller here? And then it gets bigger. You don't have to draw these lines. In fact, I encourage you probably not to. And then it gets a little bit smaller, and then it gets a little bit bigger. That's what we're looking for here. What phases match that bigger range? What phases match that smaller range? And if you plot out all those moons, the answers will appear right in front of your very eyes. Okay? That'll be that. And then just tell me, what do you notice during new and full? What do you notice during the quarters? 5 and 6 steal right from your cheat sheet. Use it again. All right? And then questions will involve all the stuff we've done with tides. Some of it will be timing and figuring out how far the next one is. Some of it will be patterns. Some of it will be these orientations of the moon and the phases. All right. And with that, what are the harder labs? It's all done. So great job, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Best of luck.